Welcome to the 2026 Whiskey Throttle Media Global Showdown. This is going to be a little bit different than shootouts in the past, guys, because there's too many bikes. There's no way you can get through 10 motorcycles in a day. I don't care how you slice it, how many riders you use. It's too many bikes in one day. The track will change too much. You're not going to get an objective back-to-back comparison. So here's how we're doing it. Today, you're watching the Japanese 450 motocross shootout. The top two from this one are going to get advanced to the final. We have a European shootout that'll be coming next week. The top two from that will go to the final in what we're calling our 2026 Global Showdown. It'll be the top two Japanese manufacturers versus the top two European manufacturers for the 450cc motocross bike of the year. We've got some great test riders. We're at an awesome track up here. This is Champ ADV up in the high desert. Great little facility. And we've got some good riders, like I said. They're gonna break these things down all day long, back to back to back to back. Before we get started, I wanna thank a few partners that made this possible. First of all, Langston Motorsports. If you guys are anywhere in the Southwest, get over to Langston Motorsports. They sell all these bikes, so it doesn't matter what color you like. You can go over and get a great deal. They're big enough to stock it. They're small enough to care. That's his tagline. This is from my buddy GL. Also, a big thank you to Bel Ray, Total Performance Lubricants. These guys have a long history in the sport, and we're excited to get them involved again. They're bringing this shootout to you, so thank you to those guys. Big thank you to Element, keeping all of our test riders hydrated today. That's key. It's important for everybody, but obviously when you have a long day of testing, super important. Just thank you to all the manufacturers for being involved. Let's get started.
All right, Cody's going back to his roots and riding Honda, riding red.
All right, we're here with Adam Persitza. Adam, give us your weight, kind of class that you would race, just so people know your skill level.
Yeah, so I'm 6'1", about 200 pounds right now, and on a good day, if I ride consistently, vet intermediate.
First of all, what'd you think of the track here today? This is, we had rain, so we were kind of rained out of the local tracks, but this was a really great place, I think. Uphills, downhills, a little bit of sand, a little bit of hard pack.
Yeah, I think it was I had a lot of fun on the track. I think it was great. It was nice not being at a track I'm used to riding all the time, because then you kind of expect we're going to have certain bumps or certain input from the track, and it's nice it's a blank slate, and then riding all the bikes back to back to back as blank slates too. It's like you really notice more of the input on how one bike does things better or different than the other one. All
right, our next test rider, Jason Frank. Give us some of your stats here, Jay.
You want my
age, weight,
my details?
Height? Yeah,
oh,
let's hear
goodness. 49 years old. 235 pounds, vet C, 40 plus.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a little bit about this track.
Yeah.
Pretty fun, pretty good test day.
This was awesome. From my perspective as, vet rider who's not super fast, this is like real. It's a track, but it's, you're going out and play riding too. So prep was good. I mean, the rain just helped tremendously, but I think this was a lot of fun. It's a fun track.
All right, we've got Cody Moore here. Cody, take us through some of your stats here so people can understand your level of ability, your weight, etc.
I'm a solid 140 pounds, as Ping likes to say, after a heavy breakfast. I'm A class in off-road and then B class in moto. And then I'm 5'10", so I feel like right in the sweet spot. Not too tall, but not too short.
Good height, a little skinny. We need to put some meat on your bones.
Skinny, yeah.
All right, guys, we're here with one of our test riders, Talon Hawkins, former professional racer, weighs how much?
160.
160 of pure, unadulterated muscle. Basically, on our notes here, we have engine performance, suspension handling, cornering, comfort controls, ergos, and then your overall impression. And you kind of raked each one of those 1 through 5 and then gave us an overall. So let's start with your 4th place machine. What do you have?
I put the Suzuki at placement 4. I really liked the bike. It was very maneuverable, and it honestly was pretty easy to get used to. I hopped on the bike and I'm like, okay, I got this, and corners very well. I think there's a couple things I could have done to it, mainly suspension wise. I feel like I could have balanced the bike a little bit more. I feel like that would have made it run a lot better. Overall, good bike.
But you have some I mean, there's obviously some reasons you put it forth. What is it lacking? What does that bike need?
Maybe overall a little bit of power, I think, is where it's lacking. I felt the forks were a little bit stiffer than the shock. That's where the balance was kind of lacking. I feel like that kind of hindered, messed me up in the corners. It was a little bit on the rear too much and wanted to stand up and jump out of the ruts. That's something I would change a little bit, and then a little more power.
Crazy part is you can make that thing run. Ken Roxon's out winning races on that motorcycle. I think Jason Anderson's going to do great on it. As a platform, it's awesome. It just hasn't been updated in so long.
Yeah,
so
you can make it good. I think there's just a couple things you need to do, and then it's a competitive machine.
What came in fourth for you?
So Suzuki did come in fourth, which, you know, it's hard for me. I'm a Suzuki guy, but to me, the biggest thing, it's the updates we know they need. While it's very smooth, predictable, and like if I was just riding one all year, I'd be happy as can be on that bike. But when you jump from one to another, you kind of opens your eyes a little bit to like where it's lacking. To me, the biggest thing I disliked was really the power. While it had okay power, you really noticed getting off the throttle, it just feels like an anchor drops just because it has such strong engine braking, to where the other ones you could carry your speed through a jump, kind of let off before you take off. That one, if you did it, you're coming up a little bit short. So it just affects your timing. Like, it's nothing you can't overcome. But then as far as cornering though, it still corners great. I love the ergos of the bike. I feel very comfortable as a taller rider. I can get right up on the tank. I like the width of the shrouds and everything. So that makes it really comfortable for me. If you just got an ECU or something like that, just to let it breathe a little bit more, have less engine braking, I think it'd be a game changer. Then just with the kind of common updates most people want out of it, it is a very competitive bike. Obviously, we talked about the professional level, they can win on that thing, but in stock trim, it is lacking compared to the counterparts.
My testing, the fourth place bike was a Suzuki. The Suzuki just felt heavy. Even for a heavy guy, it felt heavy, but it is the prettiest bike out there. I don't know what it is about that yellow, but
yellow's a pretty color.
It won that way, but the bike was good. Kickstarter, I don't like it.
I think on your note you wrote, I hate this thing, or I hate
Kickstart is awful.
Kickstart is awful. If you can get a great deal on one, great motorcycle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it can be made to be really good.
Absolutely.
Okay, take us through your picks today. Let's start with fourth. What do you got in fourth?
Yeah, in fourth I have the Suzuki. Not that it was a terrible bike at all, but the Suzuki just lacked a couple areas that other bikes did a little bit better. I feel as if I could go out and race all of them, and I put that into my head of if I was going to go race this bike tomorrow, which one would I do the most, and the least was the Suzuki. And that was just, I think, because out of the box, just the power of it was a little bit less than what some of the others were, and me and Talon were talking about it. Riding it like a 250 almost was a little bit better, a little bit higher in the RPMs and things like that, but the suspension was good. I feel like it was a little bit off balance compared to some of the other bikes.
What did it feel when you say off balance? Down in the back or too high in the back?
A little bit too high in the back, which I feel like almost as I got riding though and I got used to it, it really didn't bother me as much. It was probably the best cornering bike out of all of them. The tight corners, I feel like I could really trust it, and it wouldn't push at all. Especially the track started to dry out a little bit later on, and I feel like I could still push through the whole corner and trust it without having it, wash out.
Okay, so it kind of the common thread with everyone on the Suzuki is it's a good platform. It just needs some updates, you know, which is not really shocking news to anybody. Take us to your number 3 bike.
I put the Kawasaki at number 3. I think the power needs a little bit more on the bottom, out of the corners, that little bark. It's kind of lacking that a little bit. The suspension was very plush. It handled the speed bumps really well, but I feel like once you got into the hard, big choppy bumps, it would kind of bottom through and blow through a little bit. So I think it needs a little bit more hold up, which is something that can be adjusted.
Maybe it's a little more dialed in for more of an amateur racer, at a high level, needs to be a little firmer, a little more aggressive power. Is that?
Absolutely. The track that we're riding today is a little bit more off-roady, so I think that's why the bike took a liking to this track.
Third place, and this was tough, but it's the Kawasaki. It's almost like it was a pedestrian bike. It can do everything really good, but doesn't do everything fantastic. I actually, on that bike, I went out and rode it another session with an aggressive map, and I liked it even more. So I think all in, the bike is really good. It's stable, turns really well, feels really long, but it also ergonomically for a taller guy, I'm 6'1", it actually fits really well.
Yeah, it seems like this is a really common theme from the Kawasaki, is that it does everything well, but it doesn't do anything exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets kind of beat out. But
even ripping down some of these single tracks, that bike was so stable. I mean, it kind of felt like, Destry or Larry Rossler just ripping through the desert. It just felt really stable.
I don't spend a lot of time on Cowies at all, so the fact that I was that comfortable on it was really nice to have. I think it was really just the motor. I felt was a little bit more broad of a power range.
Okay.
I feel like I could rev it out a little bit and then also have it back down to where I could carry third a little bit, but not be lugging it too heavy. Probably the most rideable bike that was here for anybody at any skill level. I feel like you could just hop on that and be a competitive rider in whatever class you are.
I hopped on that thing and immediately I felt like I could push. This bike was just ready to go right out of the crate, Did get to try different maps on the Cowie, which definitely livened it up. So it's like, it's not something in stock trim you can adjust with the app and all that. You can make those adjustments, and again, a more open track. In the morning, it was great. When it was a little wetter as it dried out, then it's like I tried the more aggressive and it was kicking loose a little bit on me. But this one, suspension handling, it was perfect. Like for me, of course, I'm not going as fast as like Talon or something like that, but for those big rollers, it just absorbed everything super well. Any little edge, I didn't even notice it. And then even still on the jumps, not that there was anything too big out here, but it was super plush and just handled those no problem. Like I didn't feel like I was overriding the suspension. And then cornering that thing wherever I wanted to go, flat, ruts, berms, it just, with very little input from me, it just went where I was hoping it'd go. So it was really nice in that sense. And then I thought it just had the best ergos. It was the most open to me, being a taller rider. So in just a very stable feel, it made me, I was right at home on that thing.
So you feel like the Cowie is a little bit more opened up, bigger riders might feel a little more comfortable in that?
Yeah, and I even felt like the bars were a little narrower, which to me, like I would think that'd be an issue, but it did make me feel more comfortable. That way I wouldn't oversteer or anything like that. So it was just a really comfortable bike for me.
Take me into second place then.
Second place was tough. It was tough because it was almost first. And my second place bike was the Honda. Honda, I love the motor. The ergonomics are out of this world. It's more tractor-ish than the Yamaha. The Honda was it's just a great bike. Getting on it, feeling comfortable right out of the gate was awesome. For me, and a lot of guys that are in my class too, we have to put springs in our bikes just because our weight, we're outside the range. All you need on that bike is springs. And just set your clickers and go. The bike it looks fast just sitting on the stand.
In second place, you've got the Honda. Tell me what your thoughts were on that bike.
It was a great bike, honestly, felt very connected. I feel like the engine and the suspension worked together really well. It didn't have the most bark out of the corner, like the first place position. It had the connectivity that I was kind of looking for, and it really worked well on this track. Fluid, felt easy to corner because it didn't want to skip out on you. Easy bike to ride.
Yeah, you looked really comfortable on it, and you came in and were like, hey, that bike's really good.
This one, for me, it really could dictate maybe a different track. I would have kind of flip-flopped my 1 and 2, but I put the Honda at second. Overall, I really like the engine capabilities, and I messed with all the different maps. So like the aggressive, if I was a bigger track, I would definitely ride that one more often. Out here is just a bit too much, especially later in the afternoon as things were drying out and it's getting a little silty in some of the corners. But I did, doing the different maps, trying the different levels of the traction control, I kind of found the sweet spot either in like the stock map with the lowest setting of traction control or the mild map with no traction control. Both of those felt pretty comparable out here, and I could just put that thing into any corner, roll on the throttle, and it would just stick to where I put it. Suspension handling, I really didn't have to change a whole lot after we did the sag. Like I said, it was just very predictable ride, and that ergos on that one are really good too. I can just get everywhere on the bike while still staying in like that good rider triangle and not feeling like if I go too far back, it's gonna want to loop out or anything weird on me.
The Honda really had the best low-end power, I felt like, where you could almost ride it a gear higher, but still be able to not lug it, but have the meat of the power be lower. So some of these jumps out here, you're coming right out of a corner and you could just rop right over it instead of having to shift a bunch and everything. You carry third a lot. As soon as I hopped on it, I'm pretty familiar with the Hondas, so felt comfortable on it right away. It wasn't off. The rider triangle was very good on it. It's just solid out of the box, honestly. Like I said, it's hard to really place them.
Yeah, the top three seems like for most people it was tough to call, and you just got to go with what was more comfortable to you. So, okay, well, so Yamaha wins. Tell us why.
It did everything very well, even better than last year. And I thought the bike last year was great, but this year they felt like it mellowed out the power. Not too crazy though. It still has that Yamaha, like get up and go power, but very manageable. You can ride it kind of like the Honda, lugging it a little bit because it had that power, but you could also crack the throttle and it just rip you off the back if you wanted to. It felt the most comfortable in the air. The second when we were hitting that jump, kind of hit it at an angle, and the bike felt so nimble in the air, like I could move it wherever I wanted. Felt super in control.
Predictable.
Very predictable, yeah.
Obviously, we're down to the top two spots, and you put the Yamaha in first place.
Yep.
What's the difference between the two of those bikes?
I would say it's honestly a pick your poison. I like that bark, that extra power right off the get-go. It feels really smooth. It just has the power, the clean power. It delivers really well for how much bottom end it has. It doesn't run out. It just keeps climbing, I feel like, and that rev is good. It's a good rev.
And what about suspension? I mean, I really feel like when we talk about comfort, controls, ergos, all the bikes are good. Even the Suzuki it's a comfortable motorcycle.
It was a hard choice to picking these four because they all handle really well.
So it really comes down to power delivery and how the power and the chassis work together in suspension, right? I mean, as a package.
Yep.
So the Yamaha to you was kind of the best all-around package.
It was. The suspension, I feel like, worked better for me. It was a little bit stiffer. It handled the bigger braking bumps a little bit better than the Honda did. Okay. It's a close one.
Yamaha, Honda, Kawi, Suzuki.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Not the oldest test ride out here, but one of the vet ones for sure. I don't need that hard charging, big power hit on a 450. I like it a little bit smoother, especially with today's track conditions. So it took me a little bit longer to get comfortable on it. One thing, and it's not a knock to the bike, and like when you ride it enough, you'll just get used to that, but it being so much quieter now, when I went from one bike to another, like you don't realize how much speed you're carrying because it is pretty muffled, but you are carrying a lot of speed and that thing does have great power. So to me, that is a positive. It gives you better situational awareness on the track. Like you'll be more aware of, as someone's coming up behind you in a racing situation. So it is a positive. It just kind of like took me back for a moment. But again, like where I talked about the negative Suzuki, with this one, like if you let off that throttle a bit, it would still coast almost like a two-stroke to me. Like it doesn't get that aggressive braking. And I know you can adjust some of that with mapping, but with the maps we had today, like it just felt really great and nimble. Suspension handling, that's where I had a little bit issue. We were able to work it out, just making some adjustments. I kind of was getting a lot of input on the front, turning my bars a little bit more than I wanted to. We're able to free up the high speed on the rear, and that let it settle. I am more of like a rear turning rider, especially riding a lot of two strokes. That's kind of what I'm on most of the time. So that's my comfort zone. And then, with cornering, like I said, I was fighting a little bit. We made some adjustments, and then that thing stayed right in track. So it was a lot of fun. And then ergos, it does have good room for me. The thing I'm not a fan with the Yamaha is how wide the shrouds. I know they've gotten narrower, but even still, I feel like I can't quite squeeze the same because my legs are just spread apart. But
sure.
And again, that's like if I ride it enough, I would just get used to it, not think much about it. But again, back to back, it's very noticeable to me.
So what is it that made the Yamaha better, in your opinion?
The motor. When we first got on the bikes and we were, the four of us were bouncing back and forth off of them. When you turn the throttle on 3 other bikes, they all kind of feel the same. When I cracked the throttle on the Yamaha, it was like, whoa, this is a rocket ship. And I haven't even put it in a gear yet. And, transition that to the first place bike. I got on that bike. You saw me out there. I wasn't jumping some of the stuff initially, but the second I got on the Yamaha, boom, started jumping everything. Now, consequently, I jumped everything else on all the other bikes too, but the Yamaha just felt comfortable out of the gate.
We've had multiple people say that the engine is super impressive, the way that it applies the power.
Oh, yeah.
What about the suspension and chassis handling, cornering, all the other
So the Honda and the Yamaha, to me, feel very similar. And I rode an earlier generation, the previous generation Yamaha, and it didn't feel this way. So it almost feels like it looks still a little wide, but it doesn't feel wide. It's narrow. It feels like the Honda. It's maybe a skosh underneath what the Honda is ergonomically, but it's right there. And it just, with the way it lays the power down, it just wheelies right. It's from the bottom. It just comes to life and it just keeps going. It was really impressive, actually.
And they actually mellowed it out a good bit from last year with sound regulations that kind of mellowed it out, but they also did it with mapping to try to make it, some people said it was too much.
Yeah.
So they tried to mellow out the way it applied. It's been a couple years since you've ridden one, but was it manageable to you? Did it feel like it was ever too much?
Only one time. Then I started pushing it.
Okay.
And I kind of rode beyond my abilities.
Little whiskey throttle?
I almost did. But we kind of got a little crossed up because I just played it too much power. You could go into a corner like a two-stroke. It felt like a two-stroke, almost like I was going back in time. But a bike that I could still roll around in third gear like I usually do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the feedback. We tried to really vary our riders in this shootout to have anything from pro to vet, novice.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I appreciate your feedback because a lot of it is similar to what the guys are saying, and if you can find those common threads, that's pretty absolute truth then, right? If everyone's saying the same thing, because even Adam's done another shootout with us prior. This is the first one you've ever done.
Yeah, ever.
What was the experience like being able to ride them on the same track? And it was nice today not having a million other people out here because the track really stayed the same. Dried out a little, but didn't get crazy rough so that the bike you rode first was totally different conditions from the bike you rode last. What was that whole experience like?
It was amazing. I'm grateful that, we're able to do this, especially with the factory guys. They were just amazing. So big props to all the factory guys that came up and set up the bikes and were supportive and just engaging. But one thing I would say to guys that are in my type of class, whether you're beginner, novice, demo the bikes, demo them. You're not gonna be able to ride all 4 of them or all 8 or whatever, but the more you can go out and practice on these bikes, the better off you're gonna be at the track or the trail when you come out. And that's the whole idea here, right? Is just to come out and just ride a bike that you like and you feel comfortable on. I'll say one thing on all these, you don't have to do much to them. All these bikes come out of the box so good. It's maybe some grips. I think I'd put that in my notes. Like I just need grips, bars, and
springs.
And springs.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And most people don't even need springs.
You're right.
Right.
Only if you eat a lot of stuff like I do.
Hey, tacos are good.
They're fantastic.
All right, we're buttoned up here today at our Japanese 450 motocross shootout, and I'll tell you what, it was a tie for second, and it was very, very close. So the Suzuki was fourth, not a huge surprise. Those guys have not made a lot of changes in recent years. That is starting to obviously reflect in the results. The Yamaha was the clear-cut winner today. Pretty much everybody, except for one rider, chose it as the best bike. So it was a clear first. The Suzuki was a clear fourth, and it was a tie, the way we scored it, which was a 1 through 4 scoring system between the Kawasaki and the Honda. So what we did, we had subsections that were engine performance, suspension and handling, cornering, comfort controls, and ergos. And I had them, each rider rank those 1 through 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And when those scores were tallied, the Honda came out ahead 66 points to 58 over the Kawi. Very, very close. This is tough because we got to send somebody home. I feel like I'm on American Idol and I'm sending home somebody who sings really well. But the Kawasaki will not move on to our final round. It'll be the Yamaha and the Honda going to the Global Showdown against the top 2 European bikes, which we will be determined next week. So tune in for that. That'll be a great one. We've got a lot of bikes, including the Ducati and the Triumph, which we've not yet tested, or the Beta against any other bikes. So that'll be phenomenal. And then we will go to our final Global Showdown between the top 2 Japanese, top 2 European bikes to determine Bike of the Year. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos, comment what you thought, and share it with your friends.